Hey. This is Willie Cartwright from Save to Sane. Glad to have you guys with me this evening. It's been a couple of weeks. You guys know our new format. We go every other Thursday. So it's been a couple of weeks since I've been on. So thank you guys for joining and being on here. Let me know that you're here. Put a message in the chat. Um, Glad to see you, Media Engagement Solutions. Hope all is well. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I'm trying to think, is there anything that happened in the last couple of weeks that I want to share with you guys before I get into this today? I do want to say a couple of things. Uh, Taisha would not be joining us today. She has some stuff she needs to take care of. You guys know, and we've said this on here before. She is with child, and so she's doing the things that she need to do to take care of herself and her baby, her and her a partner. So we're good. We're glad for that. We are happy for them. We're sending them good energy, good vibes, and everything is well. And so we're saying, hey, out there to Taisha and family. So good. Um, Fada. I'm probably messing this up. I hope I'm not. But Fada, glad to have you. Good to have you on here. I hope I'm not butchering your name. If I am, I certainly apologize. Yeah. So again, Taisha will not be joining us. Also, guys, when we do these podcasts, they usually run about an hour, which I'm good with. I don't want to force them to be an hour if we don't have to. Sometimes we might go over, but sometimes if we're shorter than an hour, if we're 30 minutes or 45 minutes, then I'm fine with that as well. And I do that, and I say that because I know some people don't want to sit and listen to a hour long podcast. Hopefully, ours is extremely interesting, and people do want to listen. But I do think about and respect people's time, and so sometimes our podcast may be a little shorter than an hour, so that's fine. So just want to let you guys know that ahead of time. Also, I want to say again, say hello to Taisha out there. She's somewhere out there in the world. Hey, Taisha. But thank you for everything that you've done for me and that you continue to do. So we appreciate your support. And we want to make sure that we all are supporting you and your channels as well and everything that you do. Secondly, I want to send shout out a happy thank you to my wife, Salima. Thank you for everything that you do. And I do this every week because I'm certainly in debt and appreciative of those two individuals. But thank you to my wife for everything that she does behind the scenes and supporting me 100% in our endeavors. So with that out the way, I wanted to address what we will be talking about today. And I wanted to talk about why do we not question our faith? And we've kind of talked about this before, kind of indirectly, but I want to talk about it directly today. And when I say we, I'm talking about us as African Americans, why we don't question our faith. And that goes for Christianity and Islam, and those of us who practice any other faith. But my background, obviously, is Christianity. That's where I came from. So we'll be talking about that, but I am open to hear from people who are part of or have been part of or know someone that's part of other faiths or other practices, religious practices. And the reason why this came up was several reasons why this came up. I got to thinking one day, and I just wondered, because once you kind of come out of this and you deconvert, you have a tendency to kind of look around and say, wow, some of this stuff was just completely illogical. And I don't know what took me so long. But then you have to remember that it is a true indoctrination. It is purposeful, it is planned, it is orchestrated from your birth and the birth of the people that came before you. So it is not something easy to get out of. And there are several mechanisms embedded in religion that make it difficult for one to come out. And so we will talk about those later on. But also, those of you who know I am in grad school right now, working on another master's degree. This is my second master's degree, but this one is in something that I love and have a passion for, and do all the time, which is religious studies. So I am truly enjoying it, having a wonderful time. I am of age, and so I do have some classes with some 18 to 22-year-old undergrads, and it is extremely interesting. Things are certainly different than when I was an undergrad about 30 years ago. So it is a learning experience. I'm enjoying every bit of it. I have tremendous and profound respect for the younger generation and the knowledge that they have and the ability to articulate their knowledge and their feelings about things. So I am enjoying it, having a great time. Um, Hello to Dating 40 and Up. I like that name. That is great. Good. I hope that you are finding success dating 40 and up. So great. Awesome. Glad to have you here as well. And if you guys have any comments or questions or a I guess a subtopic within this topic that you want me to touch on or you want to make a comment about, please put it in the chat. I try to read all of the chats and all of the comments and kind of bring them up front so we all can hear and maybe have comments about it, but maybe can answer some questions that someone may have or expound on a comment that someone may have. Let's see. Henry M., thank you. Yo, what's happening today? Happy to be here. Thank you. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that you are here. Media Engagement Solutions, glad that you are here as well. So one of the things that brought this topic up again, a second thing that brought this topic to me, and I decided I wanted to speak about it today, was in one of my classes, I'm taking a religion and mental health class. Think about that, religion and mental health class. And I'll let that just marinate for a minute. But it was one of the classes I was looking forward to having when I realized that it was an option for me to take. So I was really excited about this class. And I have a wonderful professor, very, very astute, very bright, intelligent guy, smart, very smart guy, but doesn't come across like that. So it's awesome. Great discussions in the class. So in one of our readings, we are looking at a guy by the name of Fowler. I think it's James Fowler, if I'm not mistaken. And he created these. He created this. It's 6 stages of spiritual development, and it's just these stages that begin. So actually, there's a pre-stage that's before the first stage, and it is in your infancy, where basically you're learning to trust your mother, so forth and so on. And then each stage is represented by a time period in your life, kind of age-wise. So the first stage is the early, you're 1 to the age of maybe 5 or 6. And then all of these stages are characterized by certain traits in those. And 6 is the last stage, the stage that, according to Fowler, and these writings are some years old, several decades old. Some of them are even maybe a century, but I think for this one, Fowler, these are just several decades old. So for stage 6, Fowler says that this is a stage that a lot of people don't reach because it's a stage that's open and accepting to all faiths, regardless of what your faith is or may not be. It is understanding the purpose of religion and all of that. And I kind of wrestle with that because being in the space that we're in now, that I'm in now, I meet a lot of people who are open to other spiritual practices, other beliefs, are not as dogmatic or fundamentalist as evangelical Christians. So, and again, this may be a product of his period when he actually wrote this. So that's fine. But what got me to where we are today, or where we will be today, is phase 3 in his 6 stages of spiritual development. And his phase 3 is where he says most people are. And phase 3 is the phase where people are comfortable in their religiosity. They're comfortable in their faith. They tend to believe that they have a personal relationship with their Savior, their deity, their God. And they don't tend to rock the boat. They don't want to ask questions. They're comfortable there. They're safe there. And when we covered this in class, I said, bingo, that's it. So, but the question that I have for us today, or the what I want us to ponder and kind of discuss today is, why are we as African Americans, why are there so many of us in that space? Why are so many of us in stage 3 and with no desire to leave stage 3? We are comfortable in what we believe. We don't want to ask questions. We believe that we have this personal relationship with God, and that He answers our prayers, and that He's our buddy. When we need Him, we call on Him. He's there. And so that's what we wanted to talk about today. And I wanted to look at some reasons why that may be for us. And as I get to those, let me look at some more of these comments. Hello from Tennessee, Stephen. Steve, it's good to have you again. We are subscribing now. Thank you so much, Dating 40 and Up. We are 262. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. We're trying to grow this channel. I know it seems like it's taking a while to grow it. But it is growing organically. I want every person who has subscribed to be a real subscriber, a person who has listened to what we're talking about here, and what we're attempting to do. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not necessarily. I'm not doing this for money. At some point that would be great, but that's not why I'm doing it. So it's not an urgency where I need to get X amount of subscribers so I can monetize it. I'm more concerned with getting the information out, helping people to think critically about their faith, and then it goes from where it goes at that point. And I should say, thirdly, having this space here for those of us who have either deconstructed from our faith, thinking about deconstructing, or still in our faith, but just maybe have some questions and maybe want to hear another side of it. And so we wanted to create a safe space here where we can address those issues and some questions and comment about it without feeling that we're being ostracized for not being a full-blooded, full-boned Christian or Muslim or whatever the faith is, right? So that's why we do it. So glad to have you guys subscribe. Appreciate it so much. But do me a favor, tell your friends, tell your people to check us out. If this is their kind of cup of tea, we like to think that we appeal to the masses. So absolutely tell your people. So now back to what we were talking about. So why is it that our people, African Americans, are afraid to question our faith? Well, one of the things I thought about right off the top of my right off the top of my head was they're comfortable. We're comfortable in that. One thing that I learned about, that I probably already knew about my people, but that I really learned earnestly when I was a financial advisor in corporate America many moons ago. It seemed like a different life ago. About 85% of my clients were African American clients. And what I learned was that we are risk adverse. We hate anything that causes risk and uncertainty. Uncertainty. But rightfully so, because we come from a situation where we have our history dictates that we are risk adverse. We have not always been able to afford to take risks. And once we get to a position or a position in our life, regardless of what part of our life it is, once we get to a position in our life that we are comfortable and we can do the things that we can do, and we can take care of the people that we need to take care of, we have no desire to rock that boat. And that is understandable considering giving our history. But now we are maturing, we are matriculating through life, we are evolving as a people. And so some of that risk aversion, we need to maybe put to the side. And there are some things that we may need to take a risk on, or I wouldn't even say a risk, but there are some things that maybe we need to do different that may take us out of our comfort zone if we want to reach a different level. And that includes spiritual, that's financial, whatever it is. Um, and so, but we have always been risk adverse to things. And so Christianity for us is a comfortable spot. It tells us that if we can't do it ourselves, there's someone outside of us that's bigger, stronger, more powerful than us that will come to our rescue. And that is comforting to know for many of us. It tells us that once we get through with our suffering here on this planet, because a lot of us believe that this is, this is suffering for us. A lot of us, given our social economic conditions and other things that we deal with, this may be suffering for us. But we like to believe that once this is over, once this life is done, that we will go into another life, a better life, a life that is perfect, if you will. A life that we have no problems, we have no pains, we have no financial issues, we have no burdens and no problems, and that is comforting for all of us. So why would we rock that boat? And we're gonna come back to reasons why we would question our faith later. But that's one thing that came to mind. Those of you can chime in on the chats as to why you believe we are adverse to asking questions about our faith. Um, let's see, Adrian Taylor, glad to have you. Where are you from, Adrian? You say excellent. I came up. Oh, Church of God in Christ. All right. Glad to have you on here. I love to hear some of your stories. Let's see, our Lord and Savior George Carlin. you know, I was never. I'm not gonna say a fan of George Carlin. I never really listened to George Carlin that much, but probably a couple of years ago, I saw him on something on YouTube. It might have been a YouTube video, but I started watching him, and he did this bit about religion, and then I come to find out this is kind of his one of his things, and so now, of course, now I'm a huge fan of his stuff. So glad to have you. A placebo for the pain, absolutely, absolutely. And again, uh, this is not this is not being critical as much as it is let's kind of dissect this thing and so that we all can understand. So it is a placebo for the pain. It is a we we collectively as a community we experience so much pain until we, this faith system, this belief system, is a placebo. We don't, those of us that are those of the individuals. I keep saying us because I'm no longer in it. But when I was in it and watching other people who are in it, they don't know that it's a placebo. They really believe that the medicine is working, right? The medicine being Christianity, Jesus, God, whatever. That's the medicine, right? And so they believe that the medicine is working when in all actuality is not working. It's not real. It's not. But a lot of us need that. We need that feeling. So yeah, that is absolutely part of it. Thank you, our Lord and Savior George Carlin. Henry, we don't realize that our comfort with religion is held in. I think it's it's supposed to be holding us back economically, keeps us away from power, limits our ability to innovate and even compete. Henry, ding, 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 you are dead. You are dead on. I wrote about some of that in my book. Uh, 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 my journey away from Christianity, and you guys can pick up the book on Amazon, or you can cash out me if you want a signed copy, and I'll put that in the chat later. But yeah, so in the book, I talk about. Um, I titled it. I can't. I kind of titled it why Christianity has been detrimental to the African American community. That's the subtitle to the book. But in that part of it, I listed things, some of the things that you mentioned, Henry, as to why religion, in this case Christianity, has been detrimental to us. And so that was absolutely economically, and we've talked about this before on here. The resources, beginning with the financial resources that the church and the faith robs our community of, that could be put to better use in our community. That's the first thing, because that's the easiest thing to quantify, right? And so and there's numbers out there, and I think I wrote about the numbers in my book. How much money we're giving to the church on a weekly, monthly, yearly base over the last decades or whatever, and it is a tremendous amount of money that could much better be served in the community doing other things that are going to better our life as a collective group, all of our lives. So yeah, absolutely. Um, Also, I talk about the mental aspect of it, what it does to us mentally, the way it makes us think, and all of that. So yeah, absolutely, Henry, right on for that. Thank you, thank you, Father. And I can't. Hopefully, I'm not messing up your name, Father. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Adrian, you're in St. Petersburg, Florida. I sending you well wishes. Hope that you are doing well. Yours and your loved ones down there in that area. So obviously, you're able to get online. So hopefully, you're doing all right. So. And we definitely send well wishes to all those in Florida who are dealing with the storm. I have family in Tampa. Um, Actually, I have family on my side of the family, and my wife's has family in Tampa as well. And we have some friends we know in Jacksonville and those areas. So absolutely, we are definitely thinking about them. But glad to have you. So Adrian, this is an overdue public analysis of a proven tool of confusion. The church is the only collective black business like entity. You are absolutely right. And I always talk about how we give X amount of dollars to the church, all of us as a community, and that money goes directly to banks who refuse, in a lot of cases, to loan us money back in the community. But the amount of money that our churches are putting in these banks, these not black-owned banks either, and so that money now gets dispersed into non-black communities so that they can start businesses, so they can put their kids in school, so they can do whatever it needs to be done in their communities, and we miss out. But we are contributing a tremendous amount of money, and other people are taking advantage of it, quite frankly. So yeah, so that's one of the first things that came to mind. Another thing that came to mind as to why we don't question our faith is because uh, we're never challenged collectively. We're never challenged because we're in an insular society or a sub community where everybody around us thinks like we do. We're all our friends. I remember I was before my mom passed. We were talking, and she was saying to me, um, it's kind of funny, but she was talking about how she didn't think I was black anymore, or as black anymore. And my mother is not like, she wasn't hood or ratchet. I always called her like she was bougie ghetto, right? But because I had gone to school, which she wanted me and encouraged me and made a way for me to go to school, but then I had my circle of friends had a broad out, right? So I knew people of different ethnicities, I knew people of different religions, I knew people of different experience, different backgrounds, everything. And so I would tell her some of these stories about such and such. And so one day she said to me, she said, you are I don't even know if I really know you, you're really not that black anymore, or something to the fact you don't have any black friends. I said, Mom, what are you talking about? Almost all of my friends are black. I said, I have friends that are not black. I said, but 90% of my friends are black. That hasn't changed. I don't understand. And so I said to her, I said, your problem is that all of your friends are black, poor, and Christian. I said, so you run in the same circles, and so you're fed the same information, and you guys are feeding it to each other. I said, you can't grow like that as a person if everyone in your circle is just like you. You need to have someone in your circle that have different experiences, maybe even be more. And I don't like to use the word intelligent, but let's just say some people in your circle who have been exposed to things that maybe you have not been exposed to, and vice versa, because they can teach you stuff, but you can teach them stuff as well. But if all of you all are from the same community, the same socioeconomic status, then it's going to be pretty much the same. And so that's how a lot of black Christians are. We run with the same group of people, And so no one in the group is challenging the things that you hear or that you learn from your church. And so you stay in a silo where it's the same old things over and over and over again. And for many of those people, their religious beliefs just have not been challenged, even to the point where things, things that the larger society, a larger community, even those people who are religious, there are things that they find to be just asinine or no longer believe, even though they might be still believers, that many black people in the black community still believe, right? We talk about the curse of Ham. I mean, that's asinine. I mean, that, to people outside of the community, but there are people in our community that still believe in the curse of Ham because it's in the Bible, even though they read it wrong and they interpret it completely wrong. Um, so stuff like that. But you have to broaden your mind. You have to broaden your experiences. That's why I think traveling is the absolute best way to educate people is to travel. I love traveling. My wife and I, we travel all the time. I love traveling. You learn so much from traveling, but you'll also find that many people who are devout, who are dogmatic about their faith, are also the people who tend to travel the least. You know, they like their silo, they like their little small communities or whatever. They do the same thing every day. They go to the same church and hear the same sermons over and over and over again, and they surround themselves with the same people that are doing absolutely the same thing. So yeah, so that's another thing that is stopping us, preventing us from questioning our faith, is that our faith is not being challenged by anyone. The things that we read and learn, no one is there to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make a lot of sense now that we are adults, right? When I was a child, I may have believed in Santa Claus. Where I'm from, my mother made it real clear early on that there was no damn Santa Claus, right? Well, no white man coming down our chimney in the projects to to bring us no presents. So that was never an issue. But it works similar. There are things that you believed as a child before you evolved, before you became more educated in the faith, in religion, that a lot of people still hold on to in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, right? Things that are childlike, that we should have grown out of, at least enough to do our research and say, listen, I still may be a believer, but this right here just don't make sense. A man being able to live in the belly of a whale or a fish, a big fish, whatever they call it, have this phrase in the Bible, that don't make a lot of sense. The earth being 6 to 8,000 years old. Come on now. But there are people who still believe the creation story, and based on the way it's set up, 6 to 8,000 years is what they say how old the earth is, right? And so we have to get away from that. But that's one of those things. The faith has never been challenged. Where are we on the comments? Let's see. Little damage down here, surface stuff, old trees. Oh, great, fantastic. Glad to hear it, Adrian. Glad to hear it. Adrian also said, so true. If we express any curiosity, it can get nasty and or brutal. We as a culture are wrong for that. We can vet everything but our beliefs. And Adrian, that's absolutely on point. But that's another reason why I do this, is because I've said what I've said for my purpose of being in school is to at some point teach, and just not teach religion from the standpoint of religion, but teach it from the standpoint of critical thought. And so what I've said is, if I could teach people, especially our people, to think critically about their faith, then it will spill over into other aspects of their life. Because our faith and our religion is the one thing that we tend not to think critically about. It's the only thing that we don't need evidence of or proof of in order for us to follow or believe. Anything else you tell a black person, no, I don't believe it. You got to prove it to me, right? And that's fine. But we need to apply that same thing to religion and our faith. So again, if I could teach people how to critically think about their faith, I think they can use those same skills as they approach other aspects of their life. And so that's another reason why, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in school, because that's kind of my goal. So you're absolutely right about that, Adrian. Here we said, we refuse to challenge ourselves, challenge myself to run a marathon, to learn a new language, to learn how to cook, etc. It's been a blast. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's what life should be. It's not, life is not supposed to be always comfortable. You don't grow, you don't learn. I mean, there's things I've always done in my life. I mean, this going back to school is challenging. I haven't been in school in 20 years. I mean, many things have changed, but one of the things I looked at was that, listen, this is going to be a challenge. It's an opportunity for me to learn some new things. And so I took on the challenge. My wife is she's helping me, but it's been great. It's been 30 years since undergrad. It's been 20 years since I got my last master's. Technology has changed tremendously. So yeah, it's absolutely. And so traveling is one of those things. You go places that you never thought that you would go. You do things you never thought you would do. But I learn and I grow. And like you, Harry, I have a blast. I am having a wonderful time in school. I love it. As a matter of fact, if I could do it the rest of my life, I probably would. But I love learning. It's just one of those things. So absolutely, we have to. It's a generational mindset change that we have to instill in our community. That change is good, challenging yourself is good, and growth is good. Growth in every aspect of our life is good. You can't remain the same. If you remain the same, you will die. And I'm talking about physical death, because we all endure physical death. But I'm talking about a mental, a spiritual, and emotional death if you stay the same. And if you drive through any of our communities across the country, our communities look like they've experienced a spiritual, emotional death. Not a physical death, but a spiritual and an emotional and a psychological and an intellectual death. And so we have to change that. We have to begin to change that with the other generations that are coming up. He said, logically, we are sent out into the world, crippled by the pie in the sky. That's another thing. I mentioned that in the book as well, under the education section, I think. I talked about, if we expect our kids to be competitive, not just competitive in this country, but competitive on a world stage, we cannot instill in them religion like it's fact and like it's history and like it's science. Because if you have our student who's trying to compete on the world stage at a university or college or even post undergrad, and these are the things that they believe, and they express these beliefs as if they are facts. People got to look at them and believe that they are not intelligent, because that's not the worldview is based on science. I don't care what people in your church tell you, a community. The worldview of things is based on science. I'll tell you a quick story. There's a young lady in one of my classes. She's probably mid-30s. And she lived in Germany for a while. She went to high school in Germany. But prior to that, she had been in Catholic school. And she said that in class one, and she just told me the story like yesterday. So it was like perfect story. But she said she was in class one day, and this was like high school first. So she remembered very well, because it wasn't that long ago. But she said one day the teacher said something, and then he kind of matter-of-factly, sort of rhetorically said, yeah, how old is the earth? And she, without thinking, but that ingrained religion, Catholicism, came out of her, and she said 6,000 years old. And she said the class turned around and looked at her like she had two heads. And the guy next to her happened to have gone to Catholic school with her. And she said he leaned over and whispered to her, all right, we're not in Catholic class now. So you can, and so the professor who he kind of made light of it to kind of spare her feelings, but went on to answer the question and tell her that somewhere around 13 and a half to 14 billion years old. But that's one of those things. Because of religion, you go out into the world outside of your insulated circle of friends, your community, your religious community, but you're out in the real world, and you're saying things as if they're a fact, but it's really mythology, and it's really, not true at all. And so you make yourself seen and sound a lot less intelligent than you may have been, or that you may be. And so we want to make sure that our kids are learning at a level that enables them to compete on a world stage, because we are a global community now. There's no, if our kids want to go out, if our young people want to go out and do the things that they want to do and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish, then they're going to be competing with people all over the world, from all around the world. Um, the school I attend is in Atlanta, Georgia State, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it is. My undergrad was at a HBCU. So for the most part, everybody there looked like me, until I found out my second or third year that a lot of white people were coming to the university to take education classes at night. But I didn't know that at first. So for all I knew, everybody looked like me. Georgia State looks like the United Nations. It is extremely diverse in every way possible. And so that's the kind of world that we're sending our young people out into, and they need to be able to compete. And so we have to. There are some good things about religion if you want to keep your kids in religion. I have to say that there are some. I mean, there are some good things, but we need to be mindful of the indoctrination that happens to our young people doing religion. And that is one of the reasons why many of them are running away from religion. And check your stats, but a lot of our young people are leaving religion, are forsaking religion for that very reason. And so as we go on, so we talked about the last thing we talked was our faith. One of the reasons why we don't question our faith is because that faith is never challenged. The next thing that I thought about on this topic was uh, religion, Christianity in particular, and Islam. They've built into their faith defense mechanisms. They've built into their faith things um, that stop us from questioning the faith. And so, what do I mean by that? Growing up, those of you who've been part of the Christian faith, or you may have experienced people telling you that if you question that, you shouldn't question God, right? And if you did have questions, that was really the devil getting in you, right? Getting in your head and all of that. Those are things that have been built into the faith to keep people from questioning and leaving the faith, right? The whole the whole early on indoctrination is another thing that's built into the faith, because they figure that if you are indoctrinated at the earliest age possible, you have years and years and years of this indoctrination. It makes it harder for you to leave. Um, the threat of hell is another device that's built into religion, in this case, Christianity, that keeps people from leaving. I mean, there are people who are really believe that the biblical hell is real. And to be honest, this was one of the first hurdles that I had to clear in order for my deconversion to actually take. So I had to do my research on the biblical heaven and hell, because it was in my mind that I could go to hell and burn forever. But once that hurdle was cleared, that it freed me up to do the things that I am doing now. That the whole God is a jealous God. He is a vindictive God. He will punish you for disobeying him. All of those things are devices and mechanisms that are part of religion that keeps you from questioning your faith, because you are afraid to. You've been told so long by so many people that if you do these things, you will anger God, you will end up in hell, or God won't bless you if you question or if you leave. When bad things happen to you, it's because the devil has got you, right? Um, Memo, bad things happen to everybody, whether you're a believer or not, regardless of what you believe in or what you don't believe in. It's called life. Good things happen to all of us, regardless of what you believe in, regardless how you believe, whether you believe or not. It's called life. And so we have to get beyond that, and we have to recognize these devices that are embedded in religion that keeps us from answering these questions. So those of you out there who have questions about your faith, about your religion, but you're concerned that you might go to hell, let me tell you, the biblical hell does not exist. If you are afraid that you will be punished by this God, from my standpoint, I don't believe that this Abrahamic God exists. So there's no punishment there. There are successful people in all aspects of their life that are non-believers or believe in other faiths. And so they're not. And then there are people who are believers who are also successful, but there are also believers, hardcore believers, devout as can be, fundamentalist as can be, that suffer, that experience a lot of tragedy in their life. My mother was one. I don't remember her not being under some kind of either financial or health trauma her entire life. And most of it was both at the same time. And she was devout as they come. So we have to get beyond that, and we have to recognize these mechanisms for what they are, so that we can attack this thing from an intelligent viewpoint. Um, and so again, our faith is never challenged. We are risk adverse. There are mechanisms built into religion that keeps us there. These are basically fear tactics. Let's see. Christina B. Williams said, "Greetings, everyone." Hello, Christina. Glad to have you. Adrian Taylor said, told us if we have questions, it's because we lack faith. Absolutely. That was another one. If you have questions, it's because you lack faith. But then they also tell you that the Bible and God is not of confusion, but it's completely confusing, a lot of the things in the Bible. Also, it says that to me, the Bible should be able to stand up to criticism. Your God, your Jesus, your Bible should be able to stand up to critique. If I have a question of their discrepancies or whatever, then your religion should be able to stand up to it. If it can't, then there must be a problem. We apply that same logic to everything else in our life, right? Except that. So why is that? Why should that be any different? So I appreciate that. Appreciate that comment, Adrian. Uh, Thank you, Christina. I appreciate it. Exactly. Nothing but fear tactics. Absolutely. That's all it is. But it's gone from, it still is to a point, a control. Religion is a control device to control behavior, to make us act a certain way. But now when you throw in the whole money aspect of it, now it is a business. It is a big time business. And like any business, you don't want to lose your clients. So you do whatever you can to keep your customer base, right? And so that's kind of how the church is. The church would do whatever it can to keep its customer base, including um, telling them that they cannot ask questions or inquire about anything. And the biggest part of that is this. This is, if we really lay it down, if we really peel back all the layers of the onion, this is really what it's about. If you and I begin to ask too many questions within the church, then they don't have the answers to it, right? And even some of the stuff they have the answers to don't make sense. So now there's discrepancies in things that we've learned, or things that the Bible has said, or in our interpretation or other people's interpretation of the Bible, right? So now you begin to question the very foundation of the Bible. And when you do that, now you pushing or you're pulling at the core, the very core of the faith itself. And that is the real fear. See, I'm under the impression, I believe that many of the people that are in leadership, in religion, especially Christianity, know that this stuff is BS. They know it. They know. As a matter of fact, there are documented, well-known pastors who have all but said that, right? So they know that this stuff is BS. But it's become a business, and it's become a way to control people and their behavior, right? I said this in my book. I've said this even before I wrote the book, and I will always say this. I need to trademark this, but I've said this for many years. Westernized Christianity is the religious arm of white supremacy. I think it was Adrian or somebody who said something earlier, talked about, or it may have been Henry. One of them said, you talk about what it does to us from a mental standpoint and what it does to our communities for us taking resources and all of that. That is a part of white supremacy, because if they can keep us where we are now, socioeconomically, if they can keep us fighting each other, if they can keep us poor, if they can keep our schools underperforming, if they can keep us jobless, then they can control us. And they can't. We're no longer in physical chains, but we're in mental chains. All of this stuff goes hand in hand. We are in mental chains now, and part of those mental chains is religion, and they understand that. So pastors will come into our churches, black pastors will preach every Sunday and tell us to turn the other cheek, tell us to leave it to God, let God handle it. All he's telling us is to be docile, let them, the oppressors, the people who marginalize you, let them continue to walk over you, because when you die, things are going to be a whole lot better. How much freaking sense does that make? We're the only people that do that believe that, right? And so it is still a way to control us. Now, not only are they controlling us, but they're robbing us of the financial resources from our community, because all of those tithes and offerings go where? To the church and then to the banks. And who gets the money from the banks? Largely not us. So we have to understand how these things work hand in hand. So as long as our pastor is promising us pie in the sky, as long as they're promising us a better life when we die, that's going to preclude us from trying to get those things a better life now, which means those who actually have the better life don't fear us as competition, because we're not going to compete with them, because we believe that this is our divine position on this planet. Is in the struggle position that we're in. A lot of us believe that this is our divine position here on this earth. And so when we die, we will be in a better position. And people understand that. People who don't look like us understand it. And a lot of people who do look like us understand us, because what happens with a lot of them is that those oppressors or those people in power will pay some of those whose job it is to keep us in the position that we're in, who to keep us mentally enslaved by telling us to turn the other cheek, to be docile, to not fight for the things that we need and that we want, to wait for this God or this deity to bless us, or to bless us on the other side. So it is all connected. There are dots that we need to connect as a community that would help us to better understand the things that I'm talking about on here today. But absolutely, you guys got me going off on something. Christina said the two main tools of RWS, which is what is that, white supremacy, religious white supremacy, RWS, maybe WS is white supremacy, I'm hoping. What deception, and number two is violence. The same thing the church does. Absolutely, Christina. Christine. I'm sorry. The most powerful religion is on planet Earth is white supremacy. Absolutely, and Christianity, evangelicalism, is a tool that they use, and they understand how to use it, and it has always been a tool that they've used all the way back to the very, very, very beginning. But we missed that. Adrian tells us, "Sorry, I agree without amendment." Thank you so much. I appreciate it, but I appreciate the comments as well. Absolutely. That's the main problem. To talk about heaven and hell, and then Adios Truth said, "Amen." Don, thank you for your comments as well. Yeah, that is, that's the thing that hangs over us. We are so afraid of dying and spending eternity. And first of all, here's the thing. And I will say this honestly and earnestly. If I found out that this Christian God was true, but everything about him was true as well, especially things in the Old Testament, and that this hell existed, right? My question would be, why would a so-called loving God, right, create a being or beings flawed or with the ability to be flawed, then allow something to come into their existence that causes them to misstep, right? And instead of destroying the thing that caused them to misstep, allow that thing to flourish and continue to affect everyone else, and then turn around and punish those individuals for eternity. Makes no sense to me. If you as God says, well, you have the ability of free thought, you can think and you can act, you have free choice, and you have not presented sufficient amount of evidence to prove to many of us who are logical in our thinking, who search for evidence, you've not presented us with enough evidence to prove to us that you are real. How is it that you're able now to banish us to an eternal fiery burning hell? Makes no sense. And for those of you who believe that or have family members, here's what I would ask my family member. If you believe I'm going to hell and you're going to heaven, but in heaven, you're supposed to be happy and joyful and loving and everything's supposed to be perfect, how can you be happy and joyful when someone who you love or claim to love, in the case me, is burning eternally in hell? See, that's the dichotomy. That doesn't work. I couldn't, if let's say I was still a believer and I really believed that I was going to hell, but my wife, who I love dearly, let's say that she wasn't a believer and she's not a believer, but let's say so she was going to hell. If I was made aware, if I'm aware of that, conscious of that in heaven, there is no way that I could be happy. So don't tell me that, well, maybe we're not conscious of that. Well, but we talk about how we're going to meet our grandmother and our aunt and our brother and our sister in heaven, and we're going to just have a glorious time. So that means I must be conscious of who they are. So why would I not be conscious that my wife is not here and that my wife is in hell? Makes no sense. So these are just logical things that run through my mind since I've been deconverted for the last 7 or 8 years. These are things that I think that I may have thought about to a certain extent, but because of the indoctrination, I kind of like, don't think about that. That's the devil trying to get me. But now I'm freed up from that, so I can critically think about these things and do a critical analysis of a lot of the stuff that I just kind of took for granted or believed because I was part of the faith. Let's see. We big time. Thank you. Truth. Christine said again, exactly. Where is the love in that? There is no love. Christine, you better thank you, Christine. You have me on here. But listen, I want to get ready to kind of wrap this up. And then so the last reason why I believe that we are afraid to question our faith is simple. It's cognitive dissonance. Some of us know the truth. Some of us, we've done our research. Some of us know that we shouldn't be believing in this, but we just can't let it go. We find other reasons. We believe in this anyway. I used to a few years ago, we had a birthday party at our house for my wife, and we had we had a very eclectic group of people. I mean, they came from and it was funny because my wife was saying, we should invite this person. I said, listen, man, we got friends that we really can't have in the same room together. We, at the time, and we still do, I said, we have some really, really holy roller friends who, don't even cuss, right? I mean, they don't drink, they don't cuss. I mean, and then we got some friends that are just like grimy, right? They're just grimy. And they drink, they walk in the door cussing and drinking in the whole 9 yards. Well, I was like, oh, that's fine. We'll put them all together. So, all right, whatever. And so it ended up being all right. but so after the party, toward the end of the party, a lot of people started leaving, and it left one of my wife's friends, and she is a extremely devout believer. So her and I got into a discussion, and I said some of the things that I've said tonight. I said this stuff to her. And she looked at me and she said, that stuff makes a whole lot of sense. And you're probably even right about all that stuff. She said, but I'm still going to believe. I'm still a believer. I'm a believer. And at that point, it's nothing you can do but throw your hands up and walk away. Again, it's not my intention to try to convert or deconvert anybody, right? But my intention is okay, here's the thing. Let you think through this critically and let it take you where it takes you, right? Logically, it should have taken her somewhere else. But the dissonance didn't allow her to get there. It wouldn't allow her to go there. It's like, like I say a lot of times, especially for African American Christians in this country, if you truly believe in God of the Bible, then you have an abusive relationship with your God. Because if the God that you believe in is the same God that watched your ancestors last 400 years endure the things that they endured, and currently for our people as a collective community to be enduring the things that we are enduring, and does nothing, right, for us or people that look like us, people across the planet that look like us, then what kind of father is this that we worship? What kind of savior is this that we worship if this individual has done nothing? But yet the same God can help you find your keys, can help you pass a test, and can help you get a promotion at work. But it couldn't do anything about slavery, couldn't do anything about the Holocaust, couldn't do anything about famine, can't do anything about the 9,000 kids a year that die of childhood cancer. Can't do anything about the millions of kids that are sexually abused at the hands, in a lot of cases, of believers. Can't do anything about that. But he can help you find your keys. So again, this is questions and statements that I put out there in an attempt and a hope that people think about this stuff. It is, I know it's kind of like preaching to the choir, but at some point there are going to be people who become inquisitive at the very least and get on YouTube and start to do a search and come across the channel, and hopefully they hear this these podcasts that we do and ask themselves the same questions. And so that was the last for me. That was the last reason that I came up with as to why we don't question our faith. But why is it important? Because I would have people that'll say, well, if I'm happy in my religion, then I'm fine. Why does it bother you? Well, first of all, it don't bother me. Let's get that out of the way. It doesn't bother me. I'm good where I am. Trust me. However, the reason again, for me, it is because this faith and the way we practice it has robbed our community of so many resources, not just financial, but talents, and other resources within our community. So that's number one. I'm tired of seeing our community rob the resources that can be used to make the community collectively better. Number two, for me, I have to live in as much truth as I can, regardless of what I want to believe or not believe. I try to live in truth, and what I believe is truth, right? And so it's important to me that I don't live life believing in things that are not real. And so that's important to me. Thirdly, this faith and this religion that we've practiced for so many years and so many centuries is mentally handicapping us. And I talked about that earlier, about us being so docile and so forgiving and turning the other cheek, that it allows other communities to walk into our communities and just take advantage of us. It allows other people to treat us any kind of way. It is one of the reasons why our kids are looking at us and like, nah, I don't want none of that. Let me go and try to assimilate to be part of other communities, because I see what's happening to my community where my mother, my grandparents, my great-grandparents came from. That's not what I want to be a part of anymore. That's not how I want to grow up. Trust me, that's happening in our community. Our young people are saying, hey, something is different about them. They're not spending 6 hours in church on a Sunday and a Saturday and Wednesday night or whatever. They're spending an hour in church and they believe or they don't believe, but it's not that big part of their life like it was for my mother and grandparents who still don't have anything. I think I want to be a part of what they're doing over here. I think I may want to try to assimilate to a lot of the things that they're doing to their way of life. And that's happening. If you don't see it, then you're blind. So you have to watch it. Yeah, and so and that was the fourth reason is that we're losing our kids culturally. We're losing our young people culturally, and I firmly believe that part of it is because they've watched us for so long suffer, and look to this external force or source that we call God, who's done absolutely nothing for the collective group of us. Or hasn't done nothing, hasn't done anything. And they're saying, I don't want any of that. I'm leaving that. And we've told them, we've said, it's gonna be right. God is our Savior. He's gonna fix this. No, they're learning how to fix it themselves. You know why? Because everybody else fixes their problems themselves. They don't look to an external deity to fix their problems. And our kids are done with that. Our young people are done with that. And I applaud them. So if I was in this generation, knowing what I know now and watching what my mother and grandmother and grandparents went through, same thing. I would like to believe that I would do the same thing, and I believe I would. So yeah, so those are the reasons. And so when that question is asked to me, why? Those are the reasons why. We'll take these last few questions and we will get out of here. But I appreciate everybody so much. Christine said, it is a hell of a drug. It is the strongest drug. Religion will, I don't care what anybody said about any other drug. There are more people hooked on religion. Religion make otherwise smart people do dumb stuff, right? Religion will make somebody say, yeah, God came and got my 7-year-old. My 7-year-old died, and my 7-year-old now is in a better place because God wanted it that way. That's BS. It's all right to be angry. It's all right to be bad. Religion does that. Religion will make a person disown their child because their child is gay. Because they said, well, being gay is an abomination to God in the Bible. Religion will make a person, in the case of my mother, who had me on a pedestal all of my life, thought I could do no wrong, never had an argument about anything except things that related to the church. When I told her that I no longer believed the way she believed, I was in my 40s. This for the first time ever, I felt that she was disappointed with me because she expressed that to my sister. Not only that, but she told my sister and wished bad things upon us, my wife and I, so that would make us come back to Jesus. That's what religion does to you. That's what religion does to people. Somebody who my mother adored me, loved me. She told everybody about my son is whatever. But when I told her that I no longer believed the way she believed, she went as far as to wish that my business failed, that my wife and I would be homeless if it meant that we would come back to Jesus. Only religion does that to people. Only religion does that kind of stuff to people. So yeah, absolutely. What else? The code. Christine said, question everything, and then she said also the code teaches respect is not lying to yourself. Absolutely. D said facts, goofy shit. Yeah, facts, goofy shit. Absolutely. But it's prevalent in our community. It is prevalent in our community. It turns family members against each other. It turns best friends against. I have lost lifelong friends. People I've been doing for 40 plus years have basically washed their hands of me because they've seen me on social media, or they know me and they know where I am from a religious standpoint now, and they've totally just washed their hands of me. 40-year friendships in some cases. It's fine. I'm cool. I got enough friends. Trust me, I got enough friends. And it's good. But yeah, but only religion. I mean, religion would cause. What else would make you go? Would make somebody go and blow up a clinic, an abortion clinic, in an effort to save lives, so call it. So you kill people in order to save people. Is that really to save what you consider to be people? Right? That's crazy. It's crazy. Religion would make someone fly a plane into a building as a suicide bomber. Religion does that. Religion causes wars that last decades, and it's even centuries. People in other countries have been fighting for religious reasons for centuries. Those are some of the dangers of religion. And that's a whole lot more. Maybe we'll do a show on the danger of religions, all of the dangers of religion. But I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I really appreciate this. Thank you guys for joining me today. Again, you can pick up the book on Amazon. I will say my Cash App really quick. So if you, but it's real easy. It's what is it? It's my name. It's Willie Cartwright. Yeah, it's $ Willie Cartwright, CartWright. I spell Willie Willie. So Willie Cartwright 1906. And if you want to purchase a book, you can get the book $19.99. Cash out me $19.99 in your address, and we'll get one out to you. Those of you who are on here who have bought the book, I certainly appreciate it. Some of you have just gotten it, so if you start reading, let me know. Please give me feedback. Please give me feedback. We'd love to have your feedback. But that's pretty much it for me today. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Love this, love this, love this. You guys stay safe out there. My man Adrian in Florida, take care of yourself. Stay safe, you and your families. Everybody else stay safe and enjoy your weekend. This is my undergrad homecoming weekend, so I am out of here tomorrow. I'm going to have a good time at my alma mater, my HBCU, Alabama A&M University. I am on my way, so we will have a good time this weekend, and I appreciate it. Adrian said thank you for all of the keen insight. Great read. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you. So we'll get out of here.